All right, back at it in the garage. I'm still waiting on the powder coat and sandblasting. But in the meantime, I'm trying to finish up everything in the rear end so that way once the stuff comes back from powder coat, we can just slap it all back together. So right now we are remaking some sections of hardline, so I will get the light out and show you. See under here, so you can see the new rubber hose, new soft lines. These are ISR lines from Injuku, but we are remaking the hard lines that go to these soft lines. So you can see there is a T right there that if I zoom in you'll see it even better. So that is a T right there, a junction block, and you can see the line coming from the front of the vehicle splits to the passenger and driver rear lines. So that was really the only concerning lines I saw under here, and I thought while we're at it doing the subframe stuff, we will replace it. So yeah, those were really rusty and crusty, and they did not look like they were going to hold for much longer. So that's what we're working on today. Show you kind of the flaring tool. So there is the flaring tool and the vise, and we have been testing. So you can see all of my test pieces. I'm cutting little chunks out and seeing, you know, kind of the technique it takes to get a good flare. And this camera, pretty old, so the focus is not going to be great, but some look better than others. So I'm trying to get to, I think I've got the flaring part figured out, but it is kind of tricky to get a good flare. So I'll try to show you and give you hints as much as I can from what I figured out from the process. But yeah, there's kind of an order to the madness too, because the second you put a bend in it, like this 90-degree bend with the bend tool, you obviously can't slip the fitting on anymore. So you know, you'll go and you'll try to, you know, put this fitting on, and it will not make it past the bend. So there is an order to the madness. I think I'm going to try to flare, pretty much take like a straight piece like this, and these are pre-flared pieces from the parts store. Pretty much flare it first, put the fitting on, and then put my bend in there. I mean, I think that's the only way to go. The only problem is when it's such a tight radius bend like that, the fitting almost gets in the way of the bending tool. So I don't know, it's a bit of a process, but we'll get her done and we'll get those lines made. So yeah, I'll put you on the camcorder and kind of update you when I have something cool to show you. But yeah, thanks for watching. Alright, I thought I'd update you guys this part. So, in order to get some of these really tight radius bends, like you'll see this one for example, the bend is literally like right where the fitting is, right? And same for this one. The bend is pretty much right where the fitting is. So I mean, to get the parts store tool in here, it just doesn't even allow you to get that tight of a bend. So I'll show you a little technique here. Alright, so back to this technique. So to get a tight radius bend, I haven't really had luck with the parts store tool. So I've just been putting a 1/4-inch socket in my vise. I got these nice clamps that have like a channel in the center, so it'll hold a round object pretty well. And then basically, yeah, don't forget always, before you make a bend, you know, slip your fitting on, so that way, because once it's bent, you cannot move this fitting, you know, past a bend like this. So slip the fitting on, and then basically, show you my technique here. So get the vice grip going to use the fitting as leverage. So tight that it crushes the fitting. Alright, basically, I've been putting this in here. And my bend. So, just looking at my little template here, I need to bend this. Sorry it took so long, just want to make sure I get my bend the way I want it. And get the pliers, go here. Slight bend. See, now that we put the bend in, I can't get the fitting past the bend, so that's why I always put that on first. But yeah, I think that's a good start. But yeah, just wanted to give you some advice on that. It's hard. I'll come back and show you once I get this cut to length, but that was a good starting demo. All right, here we are back in the garage. Yeah, as of right now, we just got the brake line project done. I'll give you guys a tour of all that was involved with that. But man, after that experience, I have some mad respect for anyone that can do brake line stuff. Holy crap. Very, very, I don't know, just finicky to get the flaring correct, to get the line length correct and the bends. There's a lot involved. Probably just to do these two rear line sections, I think it took me a total of maybe 9 hours. So you can laugh, but I mean, it was my first time really doing it. So a lot of learning, but very happy with the final product, and I'll get under with the shop light, and we'll show you in a second here. So yeah, tonight the plan is, as always, start out with cleaning the workbench, cleaning the workspace with all the tools and crap that's been out since the brake line project. And then I have to install the master. So we had a leaky brake master cylinder on this. The Rock Auto part leaked. I don't know, I've had hit or miss luck with some aftermarket stuff. I had the more expensive option. Of course, I went with a cheaper master cylinder. And it bit me, but they warranted it. We just got to put it back in. When Matt Dijon was here, I had him install it. Thanks, Matt. But I forgot to have him bench bleed it before he put it in. So yeah, you guys will see. I have to take it all back out to bench bleed it and then put it back in. No big deal. But yeah, I'll show you guys the brake lines and how they turned out and kind of what was involved. So flip it around and show you. Okay, here was everything involved for the brake line project. So kind of from left to right. We got the die, the inverted flare, bubble flare. All different dies are these things right here. Then the tool to actually press it down and make your flare, and then the little holder thing that you put in the vise. You guys saw the video previously on that. So, but yeah, then the brake line cutter and the brake line bender, brake fluid. And then all my sample pieces and the roll of line that I bought. So this is 3/16 steel from Napa. I got a 25-foot section of it for about 50 bucks, so not too bad. But look at all my test sections. This is just me learning along the way. Some of the flares, and my camera doesn't focus too well, so bear with me. But you can see some of the flares just got really bent. Some of them just all around kind of crooked and lopsided, so it took a lot of trial and error, and this is definitely not all of the practice pieces. But yeah, so I bought some sections of line, like they come in different lengths from the auto parts store, just straight, and they already have the flares on them. I just bought those so that I could cut them and steel the fittings. But yeah, this is kind of an example of one of the pieces. But anyway, so yeah, that's just shows you all that, and then we'll take the light and I'll show you under the car. Alright, so starting out with the rubber line, rubber hose. So we did get some new ISR from Injuku rubber line, just because, I mean, while we're at it, you might as well. But yeah, now I'll show you what I'm proud of under here. Alright. So there it is, the new sections of line. So we got this longer one going over to the driver's side, nice bends in it to get it perfectly into the soft line, and then it's just a nice short run on the passenger side. So just looks like 1, 2, 3 bends on that side to get you into the soft line on that side. But yeah, very happy with it. Doesn't seem to rub anywhere. Everywhere has clearance along the chassis, so we won't have any rubbing issues. But yeah, now we'll just see if it leaks at all. But yeah, I reused the T-junction, factory T-junction there, and everything is tight. So we'll see how it goes when we bleed it. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, you guys can't see it. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't leak. You know how it goes with that, you never know. But yeah, there we go. So that is the brake line stuff. And then I am painting the studs. I forgot to do this when I undercoated everything. So yeah, just doing a fresh coat of undercoating on all the studs. Obviously not the threads, so the threads are all taped off. But yeah, that's the update. And yeah, I'll show you guys the fun required to take this master out, bench bleed it, and put it all back. But yeah, I'll put you on the stand and get going. Alright. Who knows how necessary this is, but I got all these fittings from the auto parts store when I did this the last time we did this master. So I guess it's a bench bleeding kit. So basically you put all 3 of the fittings in here, find the right thread pitch. square end on them, so we'll just take an open-ended wrench, tighten them up. And now, I don't know, I think this is probably overkill as far as bench bleeding is concerned. But I have this stuff now, so I'll do it this way. Tight with the wrench. Plastic threads go into those reasonable, and then supposedly pick up all of these here hoses that we get into it. And of course, this kit is only meant for masters that are, I guess what would be ABS, so only 2 ports, so you have to buy 2 kits in order to get the fittings necessary for non-ABS. Fun, right? Alright, so we'll take the cap off, and then just drape the hoses into the master. Follow the fluid. Alright, now let's reinstall the master. After making a mess on the bench, bleeding it. It's okay. It helps bleed it and not get air pockets. It is worth it. Get her in now. Alright, we're gonna look at something fun tonight. That's sarcasm if you haven't heard that before from me. We have some new brake lines coming from Injuku. New soft lines, because we've been over this before. This one's looking pretty tired. However, we went to go take it off of the hard line and that fitting is stripped. Stripped. I cannot get it to break free. So we are going to look at redoing that hard line. So it comes through the firewall and then it's this one right here, right there, and then I'm wiggling underneath my finger. So it goes there, it comes up, it goes over the engine, then it comes over here and it goes into the master. So we're gonna look and see how difficult it'd be to get it out from underneath the wiring, because it comes out, you can see where it comes out right there, and it goes underneath my wiring loom and it continues up and over. So we're going to see how hard it will be to remove from its current location. But to do that, kind of got to commit down here and cut it right there, and then start to wrestle it out. So I think we're going to do that. I'm going to give her a cut and we'll go from there. Alrighty, we have committed. You can see the fluid kind of slowly dripping out there. We took our sheet metal cutters, shears, and I gave her a nice snip right there. So now at least our soft line is free, so we can remove this piece of old junk. But now the hard part. Let's get this thing out, get it on the bench, and then we can start rebuilding it and kind of mocking up our shape on the bench. Here we are back to testing our brake line flaring abilities. So before we get started on the big section that we need to replace, I am just doing a few practice pieces to get my technique down and make sure my flares are going to be good for the main section. One thing I have to get a little bit better about with these videos is kind of explaining what I'm doing, but I will come and voice that over. So I am just taking measurements of the old brake line so that I know at what point I need to bend my new brake line. So I'm just measuring up each section, and you'll see at the end of this clip, I just jot it down on a piece of paper so I know how long my overall piece needs to be and where I need to put my bends. You can tell with this series of clips I'm in hardcore concentration mode. I'm not talking to the camera. I've got a game plan. I've done this before with the rear section of line, so I am just busting this thing out. But you will see we get to a point in this video where I do get on camera because I made a little bit of a mistake, but pretty good for the most part, and I made good time on this project. Alright, it is the next day and we are picking up on the brake line bending and creating project. So I'm pretty happy with what I have so far. Just got to keep on bending and then try to route it. So I'll show you what we have so far and then we'll go from there. Alright, so you can see this line right here, the more gray one, is obviously the old line, and we are just mocking it up on the bench and trying to match the bends of the original gray line. So I'm happy with it so far. So you can see we've got our first 1, 2, 3, 4 bends, and now we just need to keep following this one. And look at how crazy it gets here at the end. That's where it goes into the soft line, because you can see that's where we had to cut it on the end and snip the rounded off fitting, which is over here on our shelf. So you can see that's where we snipped it off of the soft line. But anyway, yeah, we've got to go basically from our master, this middle port on our master, and basically follow this path all the way over to the passenger side front brake caliper. So we'll get to working on it, and hopefully it doesn't take too long, and we get it on the first try. Alright, this is pretty hard to capture, but it is satisfying watching a hard line come together, whether it's brake lines, I don't know if you're bending hard line for coolant or whatever, but air conditioning, geez, I couldn't imagine air conditioning lines. But anyway, it's satisfying to watch the shape come together, and I'll try to show you guys best I can as we go. But here's a better representation of it laid out, so you can see our new silver line following that old gray line. And I just try to use like a Sharpie at each bend point to make our marks. So you can see the Sharpie mark there. And then we'll put our next one at this point. And then we just use our bend tool and we keep bending. So we'll keep on going, and hopefully we can knock this line out and get her back in the car. All right, passenger side front brake line update. We have got a lot of it bent and most of it is in position. I've got the rough shape bent out here on the bench, and I'll give you guys a look here. So basically, here's what we got. So we got the old one, which is that black, darker gray one on top, and then we've got our new one. So we've tried to match all of the bends, and this is the longest line I've ever done. 63 inches, so you can see it comes down here, goes back up, loop-de-loop-de-loop, tons of bends, and then that's where it goes into, that's where it passes through basically the frame rail area, the body of the car, and that's where it'll connect to the soft line. So we've got our rough shape figured out. Now what I want to do is actually try to install it a bit, bend it around a little, because what I want to do, number one, we'll learn a lot from trying to install it, and number two, I want to make sure we get this length exactly right as much as possible. That way, you know, it's not too long, doesn't stick out too far out of its hole there, and then it just connects to the soft line right there as best as it can. So yeah, I'm stoked on that, and I hope that we get her in. All right, brake line routing update. We definitely learned some things. Our previous routing was pretty bad. I hadn't touched it in a while, like the factory hardline, brake hardline routing. All my clips are broken. You know, it's just kind of a jumbled mess, but we'll try to leave it a little bit better than what we found it. I mean, it worked. I just want to prevent any rubbing, you know, metal on metal. I don't want these lines to rub through. So yeah, I'll turn the camera around, give you a peek. So obviously that middle one there, on that middle port is our new line, that nice silver line. And you can see it goes under this black line here. And so I'm gonna try to space it off of the firewall a bit right there, where I have that P-clamp. From the factory, I think there is a clip that goes in that hole that you can see. I have the screw for the P-clamp. I think there is something there from factory, but for my needs, I have vacuum lines and stuff, so P-clamp worked. I might just do a smaller P-clamp and just double P-clamp that hole and just do another P-clamp on the top for the top line. But anyway, so yeah, it follows and it stays tucked under the hood pretty nice. This is all the factory routing. I think this connector separator guy is supposed to go in that hole right there. And then it comes down and they start crisscrossing a bit and touching. So I'm going to try to use some kind of a line separator clip like that. And then you can see it goes down, and this black line, the one that is a factory that we haven't touched today, goes into our hydraulic handbrake. So it's in line, so it's this guy that loops, get the light on it, that loops around, and then it goes into this jumbled mess. So yeah, our fittings and our lines are kind of close down here, but we'll do what we can to avoid rubbing. But yeah, it goes under, so our new line, get the light on it there, it goes under the wiring harness there, and there's a little clip along the frame rail for it, and then it just pops out right here. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's pretty sweet to see the new hard line pretty much ready to go. So we will basically take everything apart, take this back out, but before we do that, I'm gonna kind of put a bend in this and then cut it to length, because right now you can see I probably left an extra 3 inches on there. So we will cut it, flare it, and then we should have our hard line ready to go, and then obviously route it as nice as we can and put everything back. So pretty happy with that so far. I'm going to practice flaring one more time because I want to get this flare correct. I have a lot of time now into bending this hard line. So we just get the flare good and have that peace of mind that it's going to seal when we put our new soft line on. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll button this up.